Hello and welcome to the UK column. Today I'm joined by José Biomorgi. Jose is currently serving as Venezuelan ambassador to Lebanon and Syria and has previously served as Minister of Industries and Production in the Venezuelan government. Welcome to the program, Jose.
Yes, hello, Mike. First of all, thank you so much for this opportunity to speak a little bit about Venezuela and to bring the truth of the Venezuelan people around the world. Because, as you know, the mainstream media used to manipulate information everywhere, and the algorithms in the social media they are playing a very bad job by hiding the information, no? By shadow banned information that we have or we want to sell.
Venezuela's been in the news quite a bit in recent weeks because President Trump has decided to bomb some boats which he claims are related to drug trafficking, and now the threat is to bomb targets inside Venezuela itself. So what's going on between the United States regime and Venezuela at this point?
You know, the difference between us and United States is started 200 years ago. It's not from now. It started from the moment when we got the independence from Spain. So we have, if we read the history of Venezuela, United States, from the moment that we got independence from Spain, they start to treat us for many reasons. For many reasons, they will never ever forgive us the fact that we bring the freedom to the Latin American. We start with the freedom process. So during the first mandate of President Trump, he tried to support many coup d'etat against Venezuela. We don't have to forget, for example, the strong support that the regime of President Trump gave to the self-proclaimed president of Venezuela, Juan Guaido, in 2016. This aggression against Venezuela started at the Obama times. The Nobel Peace Prize Obama, who declared Venezuela as a threat for the United States in 2014, he started to put sanctions on Venezuela in 2015, and then from 2016 to 2020, during the first period of Trump, they carried out a huge pressure strategy against Venezuela that by blocking our resource, by frozen our account in around the world, by stolen our gold from UK, by supporting the self-proclaimed President Guaido, by doing pressure on more than 60 countries around the world, 60 countries around the world that recognize Guaido. And even we don't have to forget that in 2020, if I remember well, they tried to invade Venezuela through Colombia at that time, and even the Vice President Pence, he was in the border, in Cucuta, in the border between Venezuela and Colombia, trying to support an invasion against Venezuela. So this is a policy that started long time ago, but now they just changed the narrative. Why? Because the opposition, the extreme opposition in Venezuela, the at that time was Guaido, this time is Maria Machado. They change the actors, but they are always the same fraction of this small, very small part of the opposition in Venezuela, which is completely extremist opposition and is subordinated to United States. They are completely incapable to carry out a coup d'etat against our government. No? So they don't have any capacity to do nothing. They are completely new in Venezuela. So that is why the President Trump he changed his narrative and now he's speaking about this extravagant history about the Cartel de los Soles and the narco state, which is completely crazy history. I think even in the United States, the people doesn't believe in this history. He is looking for the support of the Congress, the support of the internal politics in the United States in order to perform an aggression against Venezuela, but he wasn't able. And to finish with this part, it is important to mention that, in my opinion, I think it's completely clear, this strategy is planified, let's say, or led by Marcos Rubio more than the President Trump.
Okay, but what's the reason for this? And is this because he wants regime change to get rid of a socialist government, or is this because the US wants access to oil and other raw materials?
I think it's both of them. It's both of them. First of all, of course, they are supporting a change regime in Venezuela. Uh, if they can put some puppet like they have in another country in Latin America, they will feel much better, happier than now. But of course, the main aim or the main objective of any regime in our state is to appropriate of our resource. We don't have to forget that Venezuela has the biggest oil reserve around the world, but also we have gold, we have aluminum, we have iron, we have gas, we have rare earth. We have many, many resources. We have a lot of water, we have a lot of land. So, of course, the main objective of any administration, U.S. administration, is to put their hand on our resource.
Yeah, it's interesting you mention rare earths because, of course, part of the argument between the United States and China at the moment is over access to rare earths. So, what kind of rare earth resources does Venezuela actually have?
We have some of them. We are still exploring the presence of the rare earth. You know that the rare earths are in a very small amount. That is why the name is rare earth. We have discovered around 4 or 5 rare earth. Of course, the most difficult part of the rare earth is not the extraction. Sorry, it's not the explosion. Is also the extraction of them. But they are thinking in the future.
And you mentioned that Venezuela has the largest oil reserves on the planet. That's something I actually didn't know. And looking at the statistics, Venezuela apparently has more oil than Saudi Arabia. So I can see why that would make Venezuela a significant target for the United States.
Yes, of course, we have more than 300 billion barrel as a reserve. And most of the refineries in United States, they were built considering our oil, the medium heavy oil. They need our oil. So of course, the main interest of United States is always the economy. Behind all of the war, behind all of the threat, and behind all of the strategy of United States, there is the economy, as we know.
You mentioned Marco Rubio there. Why do you think he's particularly interested in regime change as opposed to, for example, others in the Trump administration?
Yes, because he is completely obsessed against Venezuela, against Cuba, against Nicaragua. You know that he is the boss of the Latin lobby in Florida, and in Florida uh, has a very important role in any election. So next year there is the midterm election in US. Apparently, the number of the support in Florida is decreasing for Trump. So he want to show the President Trump that he is able to do something against Venezuela. He's obsessed with Venezuela. And my personal opinion, that is my personal opinion, there is a big internal confrontation in the Trump administration. There is two parts. There is the deep state part, which is Marcos Rubio is part of this deep state, and there is another part, the businessman, the new, very pragmatic businessman, that is the very rich people. Marcos Rubio is not part of this establishment. And there is a big confrontation between these two parts, between the deep state and the new pragmatic rich people, businessmen. So I think it's very clear that after Trump, one of the aspirations of Marcos Rubio and even Vance, they want to be the candidate for the Republicans for the next election. So there is an internal issue, and when U.S. has some internal problem, they used to look for an external enemy to distract their population and their people. But the problem is inside the United States. To add some information, how you can explain, for example, that after the President Trump reached an agreement with the Venezuelan government, with the President Maduro, to exchange some people, the young people, immigrant that they sent to El Salvador from United States. We did an agreement to exchange those people for 10 criminals, American criminals that they were judged, and they were in the jail in Venezuela. And after this agreement, immediately the President Trump renewed the license to the Chevron company to keep their operation in Venezuela. So how you can explain? So after these two facts, they immediately start to treat Venezuela, to send the ship warships to Venezuela, to speak about the narco state. So how you can reach an agreement with the narco state? So is a narrative, of course.
Yes, indeed. Now, look, I want to come on to, in a second, to the opposition that exists in Venezuela, and you've already mentioned one name in particular. But before I do that, I just wanted to ask you what your view of Britain's position is in all this, and whether Britain has any role in pushing an anti-Venezuelan narrative at the moment as well.
Yes, there is. I think in the world there is a new geopolitical world, let's say, that is burning. Of course, this the new system or the new geopolitical world that is burning. The British government is gains. Of course, they want to keep their hegemony around the world, and one of the biggest enemy of the new world, of Russia, of China, of everything that has relationship with the new world, is the UK regime, let's say, the British regime. So of course Venezuela is part of this new supporter of the new world, which is necessary. This system is done. This all the system, all the hegemony is done. It's a matter of time. Uh, Gramsci, he used to say that when something new has to burn, but doesn't burn, and something old has to die and doesn't die, there is the monsters. And this monster, we can see this monster in Israel, for example. We can see this monster around the world, that they are trying to avoid the born of the new world. But the new world will born very soon. It's burning, and Venezuela is part of this war. Of course, anyone who doesn't want the new world will do a blackmail or sabotage on this process, and UK is one of them. Sorry, UK was supporting in a very strong way with Juan Guaido and Mariam Machado, and they are supporting the puppet president of Guyana, uh, promoting a war against Venezuela. So was the UK government who the main supporter of this idea.
Well, let's talk about the opposition inside Venezuela then for a second, because you mentioned President Obama being a Nobel Peace Prize recipient. Of course, Maria Machado has now also received a Nobel Peace Prize. She's a recipient. Is she a peacemaker?
Absolutely no. If we see the background of this lady, uh, first of all, we have to say that the Nobel Peace Prize is completely devaluated. Uh, it lost all of the credibility around the world. If you see who won the Nobel Peace Prize from a long time ago, Kissinger, Obama, people that doesn't have any relationship with peace, doesn't have any credibility. But in this case, I think is the cherry of the on the cake, no? With the case of Maria Machado, because Maria Machado, if you see his background in Venezuela, she was calling for an invasion against Venezuela. She was calling for aggression against Venezuela. She was calling to block Venezuela, to treat Venezuela. Actually, she supported the policy of Trump to send the Venezuelan immigrant to El Salvador to the jail. And recently, just few days ago, before the politic party of Maria Corina Machado Vente Venezuela signed an agreement with the Likud party of Israel, the political party of Netanyahu, sharing the ideology. Can you imagine some people that share the ideology of Netanyahu win a Nobel Prize? It's quite crazy. But recently, after the extravagant announce that she won the Nobel Peace Prize, she called the President Trump and she called Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, to congratulate him for the genocide in Gaza. So this is Maria Corina Machado. This is the symbol. She is the symbol of the aggression. She is the symbol of the violence, so doesn't has any relationship with peace, and is a very weak favor that the Nobel Committee did against the Nobel Peace Prize. Unfortunately, to say something in Venezuela, no one is speaking about this prize or this award. Doesn't have any importance in Venezuela. If you look the news in Venezuela, no one is speaking. Only the bots that Maria Corina have on the social media and in United States. Most of them live in United States. They have they manage the social media and they have a big bots in all social media, and they are trying to replay and to speak and to keep the Nobel Peace Prize on the news. But no one is speaking. Venezuela didn't have any impact in Venezuela. Actually, I think the impact that this Nobel Peace Prize had in Venezuela was to unite the people against this attitude.
So, who's behind her? Does she have any particular support in Venezuela? And is she, in fact, as rumored, funded or working for the CIA?
No, she doesn't have any support inside Venezuela. And, just a very, very small part of, let's say, of our society supported, but very small part because Venezuela is a peacefully country. Everyone that has been in Venezuela know that the Venezuelan love the peace. Even if we are ready, we defend our sovereignty, our independence in a very strong way. We have a very peacefully people, so we don't like this kind of leadership. She is supported by the CIA, of course, and let's say something. There is a guy you can look for him, or you can read a little bit about him. Is Thor Harborsen. I don't remember very well his name. He's the Norwegian Venezuelan origin. He's working for a foundation in Norway, and he was one of the biggest supporter of Maria Corina Machado in the Nobel Committee Prize. So he paid a lot of money. Unfortunately, I have to say that, I am chemist. This is my origin. So I am a scientist origin, and I know from where this prize is coming, or this prize is coming from. Who was Nobel? So I am very sad to see that this price is using to manipulate, to promote the war, to promote the aggression, to support the aggression around the world. But this price has a price. You have to pay to get it. And Thor Harborsen, he is one of the biggest supporter of Maria Corina Machado in Norway.
It's often a case, it seems, that opposition figures are supported by tax exempt foundation money. And I just wondered to what degree these foundations are being used by deep state organizations to effectively launder foreign state funding of opposition parties in countries like Venezuela, where regime change is desired.
Yes, especially this part of the opposition. It's funny when I listen someone from the U.S. administration or UK speaking about the lottery money, about drugs, about the narco traffic. If you see, you can study or evaluate in which country normally the people used to lottery money, or when the corrupt people used to send their money. I will not, because I'm diplomatic, so I have to be careful about what I'm saying. I don't want to mention any countries, but you can see which country is a paradise, a fiscal paradise for the larger money. Most of them, to don't say all of them, are under control of UK or US. So how Venezuela, for example, can launder money if we are blocked in the financial system? What means launder money? It's clean money. It's use the financial system, the formal financial system, to put your money that you get or you got for illegal business, to clean it and put it in a formal financial system. So how Venezuela will do to do that if we are blocked from the formal financial system? So it's just a narrative, to create a narrative. Of course, today is very easy to confuse the people. I was speaking yesterday with some friends about how the social media is affecting the information and the education of the people, because the people just read the sentence, the news, the title, but doesn't look for they don't go deepest in the information to understand what is happening. So it's very easy to manipulate the people. Actually, Mike, I got many congratulations for many good friends that they support the Venezuelan government. They are with us, and they congratulate me for the Nobel Peace Prize. That means that there is a big confusion, ignorance, but we don't have to criticize. We have to take action, to take measures to avoid this kind of confusion in the people.
Okay, so you're based in Lebanon at the moment, and so I'd like to learn a little bit more about your experiences in that region and what you see Venezuela's role being in the Middle East at the moment. You also spent a number of years as ambassador to Syria, but clearly you're not in Damascus at the moment because there's been a regime change there. So tell us a little bit about your experiences in Syria and how you see that part of the world at the moment, and what you perhaps see for the immediate future.
Yes, it's quite complicated, the situation in all of the Middle East. We Venezuela, as a founder of OPEC, we have a very good relationship with all of the countries in the West Asia, or Middle East, as the people used to say. We have a very strong relationship with the Gulf countries, with Syria, with Lebanon. We have a very huge Syrian and Lebanese community in Venezuela. So our relationship is historical. In the new configuration of the world, that is my personal analysis about the situation. China has a key role, especially in the economy, because the control of the United States around the world is the economy. That is the way how they control the world. Otherwise, they can't. And that is why Trump is focused in the tax, in the what is the aranceles? I forgot the word in English. That he's trying to support everywhere he put tariffs on China, on many countries, no? Because he need the to keep the strong in the dollar, the force of the dollar around the world. So China has a huge project, the Silk and Road project, which is very important, and this project goes from China to Africa, going through the Middle East. If you see what Netanyahu, the speech of Netanyahu 1 year ago in the UN, he was speaking. He showed two maps. No, he spoke about the blessing and he spoke about the evil countries. The evil countries was the countries that maybe avoid the hegemony of United States in the region, and the blessing are the countries that support. I will not say which country because we have a very good relationship. Support the politics of United States, or they are a very strong ally of United States. So just look the arrow that he showed on the map. He showed an arrow from the south of East Asia until Europe. So if you see the arrow, there is a region that this arrow is going through, which is Syria, Lebanon, Palestine, and Jordan. So they need to control this region in order to, like my personal opinion, Mike, in order to block China. That is my personal opinion. In order to block China, to increase the influence of US and UK in the region. Of course, the leadership of UK, they ignore the history of the West Asian normally, but UK, the leader of UK, they know very well the history of the West Asia. That is why now they are playing a very, I mean, the UK administration, they are playing a very important role around this region. To don't mention countries, no, but around very close to this region. So, what is the future of this region? It's not clear. In my opinion, it's not clear. I don't think maybe you can conclude that Israel is winning the war because they killed leadership like Nasser Allah. They fallen down the Syrian regime after 54 years of the Ba'ath party regime. So they have killed some leadership of Hamas. You can conclude that Israel is winning, but for me, it's not clear because how you can explain, for example, if you have devastated the Gaza region, how you can explain that you were not able to find the hostage? How? Uh, how you can explain that you start the war and you say the aim of the war is to end Hamas and to take control of Gaza, and they didn't end Hamas and they didn't took the control of Gaza. So how they won this war? Uh, I think the attack on Doha, on Qatar, was the big trap for Netanyahu. I don't know if you saw the speech of Trump in the Knesset when he said he suggests the president of Israel, you have to pardon the prime minister Netanyahu. He has been the best prime minister during of the history, the world prime minister on the history. So you have to pardon him. He's exposing Netanyahu when he say that. And Trump, it's true that he's ignorant in the history, But he is very smart in politics, and I think he was exposing Netanyahu, as he exposed Maria Machado some days ago when he said, "I don't know her, but she was quite nice when she called me." Of course, he knows her, but he wanted to send a message that she's nothing. It's the same with Netanyahu. So, what will happen in the next years in the middle in the West Asia? In my opinion, it's not clear. It's not clear. You know, you have to know the history of Syria. Syrian people, they will never ever accept a extremist government. They they used to accept, or they love, the secular government. They used to live in a multi-confessional society during many, many years. So it's so difficult, the situation in Syria right now. I don't know how the new regime will be able to manage this situation with the extremist fighters, foreigners, fighters present in Syria. We will see. It's not easy.
Do you think the Syrian people will accept the new regime there on a long term basis? And do you think they've any ability to remove the extremist elements from the country?
It's quite difficult, the situation, because uh, immediately after the falling down of the president Bashar, just I was in Syria at that moment. Immediately, Israel started to bombing all of the military infrastructure. So right now, Syria doesn't have a strong defense system. First of all, no. Secondly, uh, they need now, after 14 years of war, the people is quite tired, because the economy in Syria is completely devastated. It's completely destroyed. I don't want to speak a lot about Syria, because my condition is just explaining what is completely clear for everyone. So the economy in Syria is so complicated right now. So the new government has a huge challenge. First of all, is to improve the economy, because okay, West has offered, or has done many offer, the West, to Syria. But where is this offer? Where are the projects that they are ready to support? Exactly with the Gulf countries. So they, first of all, they need stability, and to establish the stability in Syria right now, you need a big reconciliation project between the society. There is there is very deep pain in the society in Syria. So you have to work in, and it's a challenge. It's a big challenge. I'm sure that Syria is an historical civilization, is cradle of civilization. So of course they will find a way, but it's not easy.
And what about Lebanon? Because obviously Lebanon is threatened north and south potentially. So do you think, is there a danger to Lebanon in the coming months? We could see attacks from the Syrian side of the border and even more attacks from the Israeli side of the border.
No, I think the treatment for Lebanon is the same of the Middle East, is Israel. Israel just bombed a few minutes ago in Baalbek. I think I was reading some news, and they bombed. They have been bombed the south of Lebanon in the last days. So the treatment for Lebanon is Israel. The new government of Lebanon, he is doing a very good job in order to keep the unity of Lebanon. There is a big threat to Lebanon from the foreigner. If you read the the article, I don't know how to call this article of the special envoy of the United States, Tom Barrack, about Lebanon and Syria. They speak as a king, no? They speak as a king. They give just ultimatum to Lebanon government, to Syrian government. They say what you have to say because otherwise you will get bombing by Israel. So uh, uh, I don't think the problem will be Syria. I think the problem in Lebanon is Israel. It's clearly Israel.
Coming back to Venezuela itself, what role does Venezuela have in Latin America? And I'm just wondering, what can Venezuela do to provide any kind of stability, any kind of counter to the sort of narratives that we're seeing from Western governments?
Yes, if you see the position of the president Petro, the president of Colombia, Gustavo Petro, or the position of the president of Brazil, Lula da Silva, in the last speech, they have spoken a lot about the Venezuelan right to live in peace, to find the solution, to respect the sovereignty, the self-determination of Venezuela. They have spoken a lot about the peace in the Caribbean Sea, in the Caribbean region. No? We have around 2,000-kilometer border between Colombia and Venezuela, and we have around 2,200 kilometers border with Brazil. So our border is huge. Any problem in Venezuela, of course, will affect immediately Brazil and Colombia. The President Petro and the President Lula, they speak because not all because they are defending only Venezuela, but also they are preserving the stability of their countries, Colombia and Brazil. Any situation in Venezuela will affect all of South America, not only Brazil and Colombia, but also the rest of not South America, even the Caribbean and the Central America. Venezuela has a very important role, not only because their geographic location. Venezuela is in the north of South America. So Venezuela is a kind of bridge between South America and North America, first of all. Secondly, we have a big relationship with many political groups in South America, in Latin America, and in general. Don't forget that from the moment when the President Chavez reached to the presidency of Venezuela, we start to work and to configure a kind of political net around all of Latin America. So, of course, some government change from the left side to the right side, but we keep our relationship with the society. So any problem in Venezuela will affect all of the Latin America. Uh, I want to be very, very honest and very humble by saying that. It's not because we believe that we are very important. No, it's because we have a very important role among the history of Latin America. So Venezuela is an important actor in Latin America, of course. And the United States knows very well that. Trump, President Trump, he knows very well the role of Venezuela. He said some days ago, now I have gave the green light for the CIA to act in Venezuela. The CIA is acting in Latin America from 60, 70, 80 years ago. No, it's not acting it's not recent. So it's a kind of a play, of game to say that, no, we are still acting against Venezuela. But he knows very well that there is a red line with Venezuela.
Okay, that's an interesting point. But obviously, there have been direct attacks over the last couple of weeks. And the question is, do you see this escalating from here on?
With Trump, you never know. With Trump, you never know. He can change his mind just in 2 minutes, even though from one day to another day, even in just minutes. He said something. He had a meeting with the president of Argentina. He offered to him financial help, and immediately the next day he said that Argentina is in a big problem, in a big troubles. So you never know what to expect of Trump. But it's bizarre when you see that they are sending warships, submarines, missiles to the Caribbean Sea to bombing the small boats. So doesn't make sense. You are expending a huge amount of money just to bombing a small boat. And something happened 2 3 days ago, which is very interesting to analyze. They bombed a boat and they were able to catch two guys, one from Colombia and one from Ecuador. They sent back those guys to Ecuador and Colombia. We were we were looking for the background of the guy from Ecuador, and the guy from Ecuador, he was sentenced in United States 5 years ago. No, 1 or 2 years ago, for 5 years for drug traffic, and then they sent back the guy, the Ecuador guy, to Ecuador, and immediately the governor of Ecuador, Noboa, he gave him the freedom. And this guy, he was caught recently by the U.S. and they sent back to Ecuador. Why? It's quite bizarre, no? Because he was judged in United States for traffic of drug. So you catch again this guy and you send back again to Ecuador. Ecuador again send him put him out of the jail. It's something strange.
Now, I'll appreciate it if you don't want to answer this question, but obviously there have been persistent allegations of CIA themselves being involved in drug trafficking. Do you think that that might give us a hint as to why this guy was released?
I will tell you my personal opinion about this operation of the Marco Rubio has a historic relationship with the narcos, especially from Colombia. No, one of his strongest ally is Uribe's. Uribe, he was the president of Venezuela, and he is one of the biggest boss of the cartel in Colombia. He's a very strong ally of Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio has been financed by the cartel. What is my personal opinion? My personal opinion. Why they are sending warships to the Caribbean if more than 85% of the drugs go to United States through the Pacific Ocean? The biggest drug producer is Colombia, and the second biggest one are Ecuador and Peru. 100% of the drugs is produced in Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru. More than 85% of this drug goes to the United States through the Pacific Ocean. So why you are sending the warships and this operative or big operation to the Caribbean? In my opinion, they want to control the business. So they want to warrant that the drug reach United States through the Pacific Ocean. That is the first objective of Marco Rubio. That is why I said at the beginning that this operation is supported mainly by Marcos Rubio. And the second thing, I see, again, my personal opinion, this is a trap from Marco Rubio to Trump, because Trump ignore what is happening in Venezuela. He ignore what is happening in Colombia, in Ecuador, in Peru. Marcos Rubio is taking advantage from his Cuban origin. He speaks Spanish very fluently, so he's taking advantage of this to put Trump in a trouble with Latin American, and in my opinion, is a big trap. But Trump, he knows also what he's doing. He is ignorant of the history, but he is smart again.
Okay, well, our time is almost up. I'd like to say a massive thank you for speaking to me today. That's been a hugely interesting conversation. I hope we can do this again at some point in the future. But if people want to find out more about Venezuela, is there somewhere that they can go to get information about the country which is a little more objective than we get from the Western media?
Oof, it's difficult. It's difficult to get information normally it's so difficult because even if you look for YouTube, for example, let's say one example, one of the biggest social media like YouTube, they block the channel of the President Maduro, they block the channel of the Minister of Interior, Diosdado Cabello, so they shadow ban all of the information. So the best source is just to look for the information coming from the Venezuelan government because we are objective. For example, I was speaking with some friend this morning, with ambassadors, friend of me. They say, why you don't sell oil to United States? Say, come on, we are sending oil to United States. We don't have any problem for sending oil to United States, but they have to pay the oil. The problem is that if the United States want to get the oil for free, they will not get the oil for free. And if they gave a license to Chevron, if they gave a license to Shell, which is a UK, a British company, to exploit the gas between Trinidad and Tobago and Venezuela. So we don't have any problem of sending oil to United States or to anywhere else. But you have to pay. If you for free, you will not get it. So it's a big manipulation about the information. So to tell you, to tell you where we can find information, Max, is so difficult. Maybe I will put some web page in my source, in my post, in my X, in my Instagram to tell the people, please, if you want to see information, right information about Venezuela, look this web page.
Well, let's see what happens when we put this interview on YouTube and see how long it stays on there for.
Yeah.
Thank you again very much for joining me today, Jose. That's been a hugely interesting conversation, and I hope we can speak again soon.
No, thank to you, Mike, for this opportunity. And whatever you want, or your staff, your people, I am ready to bring the truth of Venezuela.